family, it's Providence. Thanks for tuning in. And today we got news that Drake unfollowed multiple people on Instagram. He unfollowed Kendrick Lamar, Playboi Carti, LeBron James, Rick Ross, DeMar DeRozan, Joe Budden, just to name a few. Now, at first glance, I'm thinking to myself, man, like, Drake, my brother, we got to get off this light skin stuff that you be doing sometimes. Like just unfollowing people because they was vibing to a song. Now, Kendrick Lamar, I get that unfollow. I'm surprised you actually stayed followed to Kendrick Lamar for this long, seeing that you had that big beef with him earlier this year. And I kind of get why you would want to unfollow him. But I don't understand why, for instance, you unfollowed LeBron James. Okay, I get it. LeBron James was vibing to the song, bruh. But is it really that deep? I mean, on the one hand, I feel like you're overreacting, but then another part of me is like, okay, you did get called like a PDF file, so that's kind of a big deal. I really honestly can't think of a time. I mean, I'm familiar with most diss records. Well, diss records that have been made against popular artists. I'm sure there's been a ton of diss records that have been made about, not so popular artists that I probably never heard. But going back 30 years, all the way back to Hit 'Em Up and all those diss records, I've heard a lot of diss records in my day, and I don't really ever remember anyone being called a PDF file. That's probably the worst thing someone's ever called somebody, but that's pretty bad. So I can understand why maybe you're just upset that anybody could really like this song. But I think one thing Drake has failed to realize is that fans are going to be fans at the end of the day. Even some of your biggest supporters. I mean, look, you even had DJ Academics dancing to it on stream. Like, people still love you. People still rock with you. And at the same time, they're going to like a song. Now, personally, I have gotten tired of that song. I always thought the song was a bit overrated, even though I understand its appeal. Not Like Us is a song that hits on all cylinders. It's a party record. People could dance to it. It's got some pretty potent disses. It's got some great one-liners. A minor, that was brilliant, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, like, I always thought that song was a little bit exaggerated. And if what's being alleged is false, which, to be fair, I don't know Drake. I don't know what he does behind closed doors, but I do believe that he's innocent of any sort of accusations of PDF files. I mean, obviously, if you get called that, that's a big deal and a big accusation. And it's clear why Drake obviously wouldn't want to see anybody vibing to that song. And if Drake thought you was his mans, and he comes to find out that you was actually rocking with the song, I could see why he'd be upset. And LeBron James did, of course, look like he was the homie. So I could see why that looks like a betrayal. Now, Rick Ross, to be honest with you, I still don't know how in the world Drake and Rick Ross ended up beefing. I get why Drake and ASAP started beefing, because obviously ASAP is with Rihanna. So I can understand why that became an issue. There's a lot of emotions there, a lot of frustrations with how that relationship ended, I'm sure, on Drake's part. So I could see why he ended up kind of beefing with ASAP. To me personally, I don't think it makes much sense to be beefing over women. I think that it's always weird to me when rappers who talk about moving on from one girl to the next end up getting in their feelings over a woman. But I understand it happens. And Drake obviously had a relationship with Rihanna. And I think that Drake is kind of disappointed that Rihanna didn't end up being his wife. And so I can understand why he had issues with ASAP. But why he has issues with Rick Ross, I'm still scratching my head. I know Rick Ross said, oh, well, he sent a cease and desist, yada, yada, yada. I think that Rick Ross has never been beefing with Drake, bro. And it's disappointing because Drake and Rick Ross, to me, probably top 5 hip hop collaborations of the last decade plus, along with Drake and Future and Drake and 21, like basically whoever Drake hooks up with. But at that point, I'm just like, man, I don't even know why some of these beefs even exist. I can see why DeMar DeRozan was also a problem. Drake showed a lot of love to DeMar when he was in Canada, and now all of a sudden DeMar's out here dancing in the video like if he was Diddy, or he appeared in the video. Why you in the video? So I get it. So all these unfollows kind of make sense from Drake's part. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know. I land on the idea that Drake really needs to relax. And the reason why I feel that way is you're still the man. Like all of this stuff, I think it has diminished your stardom a little bit, if you want to say that. But at the end of the day, you're still the guy. I mean, a stat came out just today that you had the highest grossing tour ever, right? It was all a Blur tour. It was the highest grossing tour ever. So at that point, you're him. You're still the guy that everyone's trying to beat. I know everyone's gonna try to crown Kendrick Lamar as the #1 rapper, but I gotta see it to believe it. I'm not convinced that he's the #1 guy just off of a alleged W that everyone's saying that he got. And so for me, if your career is still in place and these accusations are false, right? There's no real reason to be bothered by it. Doing stuff like this, it just shows people who may still be out to get you that you still care very much about this, right? Like on the one hand, Drake is doing this thing where he's trying to look unbothered. He's trying to look like none of this gets to him, that he's above it, that he's planning around too, or, you know, he's still in the fight. But on the other hand, it's just like doing stuff like this, it looks like you're still pretty bothered. It looks like you're still agitated, still upset. And at the end of the day, you are entitled to feel that way, right? Like I never have a problem with anybody feeling how they feel, but when you show how you feel in such a petty way, it just makes you look immature. It makes you look kind of weak, right? Like people have to know, or like people have to feel how they feel without showing their hand all the time. And I feel like you unfollowing people, you know, unfollowing Joe Budden, a podcaster, right? Like a guy who's just gonna give his opinion on a podcast. Like it just makes you seem like very insecure. And so I feel like Drake should, even if you feel that way, get better at hiding how you actually feel. You know what I mean? Like don't show him your weakness. Don't show him that this is still bothering you. So overall, it's a small move, but it went viral all over the internet that he unfollowed people. I mean, I still don't understand like how people even find out about this stuff. Like seriously, who's sitting there literally checking to see who's unfollowing who? Like how do you even do, like, how do people even find this out? Like Drake's following like a couple thousand people on the gram. Like do people just check, like randomly just do checks? Like there's got to be some, I don't know, bot or something that's telling people who unfollowed who. Like how do people even know? I don't know who's standing around all day doing this. But at the end of the day, it's a thing now in our culture. When you unfollow someone, you basically are communicating like, I no longer mess with this person, right? Instead of like you know, I don't know, having a civil conversation or communicating things in interviews or whatever the case may be, people just unfollow people, and that lets everybody know, okay, I guess you're not cool anymore. The one interesting person that he did unfollow was Playboi Carti. Now, I don't know what that's about. Times like this, I wish I was an insider on what's happening, but Playboi Carti was on that song No Face. I mean, not really doing much. He was just yelling no face on the chorus over and over again. But I realized in the final version of that song, he got taken off of that song. So I don't know if there was a falling out over that song or something else, and maybe Drake took him off the song. But for some reason, now Drake has unfollowed Playboi Carti, and I find that to be interesting. I don't know what caused that. I mean, I wonder if somebody's going to explore it or ask that question at some point, but I do find that interesting. In any respect, I feel as if Drake has to be very mindful of the moves that he's making. And while I know he does feel betrayed by a lot of people in this moment, some of the social media moves that he's been making, obviously with these unfollows, just don't paint him in the best light. So anyway, that's been my thoughts on this. This has been Providence. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.